then trade for Rob Gronkowski. Welcome to primetime Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have 5 primetime games, including 3 in a row in the middle of their schedule. They will host a Sunday night football game for the first time since 2008, which coincidentally was the last time they had a winning record at home. And that's something Bruce Arians said in looking at the schedule that is very important for his team. He's also excited about the schedule and the expectations. He says he wants his team to embrace them, to believe that they are the front runners. Although when asked about being all in for a Super Bowl this year, Arians mentioned, well, first, we just got to get to the playoffs. Obviously, when you look at Brady being on the roster, you look at some of these quarterback matchups, weeks 1 and 9 versus Drew Brees, week 6 against Aaron Rodgers at home, and week 12 against Pat Mahomes and the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, also at home. And the Buccaneers bye week, week 13, which is pretty good when you have a quarterback who'll be 43 years old.
All right, Mike, time for some next-gen stats now powered by AWS. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, both going over the 1,100-yard receiving mark last year. Godwin actually eclipsing the 1,300-yard mark. And this dynamic duo combining for a 13.9 air yards per target mark last year, which was highest in the league. So back here now with Steve Smith Sr. and Steve Weich. So guys, look, we know the talent and the production is certainly there for Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but the preparation will at least be less than it usually is, especially for their new quarterback in Tom Brady. So Steve Smith, do you feel like Tom Brady will be comfortable enough with these two really talented wide receivers ahead of that Week 1 showdown with the Saints in New Orleans?
Absolutely. Tom Brady, the new quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will be comfortable. He may not be 100% because of the new virtual meetings and not having the ability to meet with everyone face to face, but a little bit of practice, and Tom Brady will be dropping dimes to those thoroughbred Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, because you stated earlier, they are two dynamic duos who are averaging almost 14 yards a catch. And that you just don't need practice to do that. It's in their DNA.
Hey, Steve, that's a great point. I mean, you talk about the fact that the depth of the target on the deep throws, and all those fails, they're going to let it go. We know Bruce Arians loves to take shots downfield. But there's also this: if a park opens up, if a field opens up, again, if the health conditions, are cleared to do so, you better believe Tom Brady and these receivers are probably going to go out and start working some routes that they're learning in these virtual workouts. So, they could practice social distancing and do that. I'm sure a lot of players around the league, if parks open up, are going to try this. That will get them comfortable enough. Let's also, Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians, first week, they may not be able to dial up the full arsenal of offense. It may just be game plan specific for the Saints defense, but they will be comfortable enough, and with Rob Gronkowski underneath to get attention towards that middle of the field, you better believe those two guys on the outside are going to have plenty of opportunities, and Brady will find his range with them.
And that's going to be a fun one in Week 1, a 4:25 Eastern Time kick. All primetime games for the Raiders in their inaugural season in Las Vegas, including their Sin City debut in the brand new Allegiant Stadium on Monday Night Football, Week 2 against the Saints, which Rich Eisen discussed with Raiders GM Mike Mayock on the schedule release show Thursday night.
We have 4 primetime home games. I think that charges up the players. It's a big challenge. Week 2, we have our home opener with the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees comes to town. So you want to talk about excitement. I think our players are excited. I think the fans are going to be fired up. Brand new stadium. They're calling it the Death Star. I think Al Davis would have loved it. It's a beautiful, beautiful stadium.
Sure.
Mark Davis done a great job of getting it ready.
Yeah, and we're knocking on wood again that we see a bunch of fans filling up in that city that we missed having the draft in this year, and we will in a couple of years from now. And then again, as you pointed out, the first game where you got it right down at the bottom of the screen, the Saints, Drew Brees coming in with Sean Payton into that town. That will be, if we get some fans in that stadium, knocking on wood, that'll be great, Mike.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, you're talking about Drew Brees Week 2. I think we have Sunday games Week 7 and Week 11 with Tampa Bay and Kansas City. So Tom Brady he comes to Allegiant Stadium. Patrick Mahomes, who we have the privilege of competing against twice a year. It's going to be an exciting year, and I just hope and pray that we can get to some semblance of normalcy.
All right, number 1 overall pick Joe Burrow's regular season debut for the Cincinnati Bengals could come with another rookie quarterback getting set to start on the opposite sidelines. The Chargers come to Cincinnati. LA, of course, making quarterback Justin Herbert the 6th overall pick in last month's draft and the 3rd passer off the board. Burrow could see another rookie quarterback when the Bengals head to Miami for a date with Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins in Week 13. 2 weeks prior, Cincinnati visits the Redskins in number 2 overall pick Chase Young, marking just the 6th time since 1970 that a quarterback and defensive player has met as rookies after being selected 1 and 2 overall. The number 2 pick has won the previous 5, so there's some added anxiety for Joe Burrow. And that top pick pressure is a discussion point for players only.
What's up, guys? I'm Real Mike Robb. I'm here with Willie McGinnis, a guy who knows how to get after quarterbacks, and then our resident quarterback, and David Carr. And guys, we're talking about top picks in the draft. David, I'll start with you. Is there any type of pressure being drafted number 1 overall?
No, there's completely no pressure. It's a walk in the park. It's like being an undrafted free agent. It's so easy. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. There's pressure. It's crazy, too. Because, I mean, especially the quarterback position, there's probably more focus on the quarterback position than anything else. But I think the biggest thing that you have to get from your organization is just the support. And it comes from the guys they put around you to the coaching staff and all the way from the owner all the way down to the trainer that you see every day. So that's the most important thing, is just the assistance that you give to this guy. And I've been in situations that was tough. Houston was it was an expansion team. We rolled in there. Everything we did was the very first time we've done anything. And we were all kind of learning on the fly. We had I think 7 rookies that started that year. So we were all kind of learning together on the fly. You imagine going against a guy like Willie McGinnis, and we're all out there, a bunch of 22-year-old kids. We had no idea what we were doing. So I think from a defensive perspective, it might be a little bit easier just go put your hand in the ground and rush the passer, but there's still a lot of pressure on you being that number 1 guy, because now you're expected to get sacks, you're expected to get tackles for loss, because you're the first pick. You have to get these negative impact plays for the offense. So it's going to be an interesting situation in Washington with a lot of these guys. You know, with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, I mean, all these guys that were picked up in the top 10 of the draft, a ton of pressure to produce and show that you are worth where you were drafted.
Now, Willie, we're talking about Chase Young. He was drafted number 2. Okay, do you expect that? Do you have any expectations that he needs to come in and be the leader of that defense in Washington?
Well, I don't know about the leader because he's young, but the expectations, Mike, is definitely going to be through the roof. I mean, he's just like a number 1. Some people said that he was the best player in the draft. And if you look at guys that went as high as him in the last few years, like Mario Williams, Jadeveon Clowney, guys with high expectations coming in, they expect you to come in and be a war daddy. They want you to be dominant right now. They know that you have the playmaking ability, else you went as high. So for Chase Young, I think he already has the mentality that he wants to be the best player at his position. He wants to prove and show to everybody why he went number 2 overall. And when you bring him into a system, it's important to have guys around him, just like on the offensive side, like David just mentioned. Well, defenders need guys around them too. So when you look at what Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator, is going to do with the Redskins, they're going to run a 40 front, a 4-3. So his head is going to be in the dirt, but he's so athletic, you could probably stand him up and use him at the linebacker position. You got Montez Sweat, a guy that they drafted last year, a young guy. You got Jonathan Allen, the guy that's still young, that's been there. You got Daron Payne. You got guys, Ryan Kerrigan. So you got talented guys, a nucleus of talented guys around him. So all the pressure is not going to go to Chase Young. He's going to be freed up. They're going to have the versatility to move him up and down the line and move him around. But you got to account for those other guys. So I think coming in, number 2 overall, the type of player you was in college, dominant, everybody is going to scheme and give you the benefit of the doubt and game plan for you, but you still got to go out and produce.
Well, guys, we will see if the expectations or the pressure of the expectations translates into action and producible results on the football field.
Okay, guys, the Bengals do have a pretty good defensive lineman who can take some pressure off Joe Burrow and the offense. Geno Atkins, a two-time All-Pro, and he shared with us which quarterback he likes to sack the most, plus what he's doing to help during the pandemic as part of our NFL at Home series.
Hi, my name is Geno Atkins, and I play for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the question is there a quarterback you enjoy sacking more than any other quarterback? I like sacking any quarterback that's in the division. But one quarterback that comes into mind would be Ben Roethlisberger. I like sacking him.
And Big Ben goes down. He's sacked.
Ben held on to that football.
1, he holds on to the ball. 2, he's a competitor. And 3, he's an in-division rival.
Geno Atkins got him.
One of my most memorable sacks against him was during the 2012 season. One of those games to where you win and you're in the playoffs. If you lose, you're going home.
Big Ben drops straight back to throw. Steps up here. He's sacked.
Geno. Who's that? That's Geno Atkins.
They are on Roethlisberger, and they've got him for a sack. Geno Atkins came to play. Boy, did he ever.
Ramon Foster's 325 pounds, and Atkins shoved him like he was a tackling dummy into Roethlisberger.
That game, I went ham and had 2.5 sacks.
Big Ben has the ball. Pressure, Atkins has him again. Geno Atkins putting on an absolute show.
And we were able to win the game and knock them out the playoffs, and we went to the playoffs. The charity that I like to give a spotlight to is the Free Store Food Bank based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And right now, during this COVID-19, food banks have been hit pretty hard. And during this time of uncertainty, people don't know where they're getting the next meal from. And so what the Free Store Food Bank is doing right now are giving out free meals and free emergency boxes to families in need. And me and my wife have partnered and donated $100,000 to this cause. And so if anybody in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area that can help and donate, please do. Thank you, and hooday.
Great work there from Geno Atkins and the NFL family surpassing $100 million in contributions to COVID relief efforts during the draft-a-thon, and the fundraising continues. To learn more, or if you're able to contribute, visit NFL.com/relief to support the 6 nonprofit organizations serving those most in need across the nation. After the break here on NFL Total Access, he lost All-Pro talent Todd Gurley, 20 sacks between Dante Fowler and Clay Matthews, and a 5-time Pro Bowler and All-World